ETBU, and 5-1. I had it as a 5-0. So, all right. So, before we get started, Devin, I put this as my last question, but it probably should be the. Why don't you move up closer to the mic so we can.
Here we go.
Don't be shy. You know. You can get a little closer if you want.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Check.
Is that all right?
There it is. Nice.
It's okay to get close to the mic. It's not gonna.
It's my first time.
It's not gonna kiss you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. This is your first year here at ETBU and what you do.
Okay, so it's a small school, wear a lot of hats. I'm a resident director for Centennial Hall, which is primarily a freshman hall on campus for the males there. I'm also director of intramural sports, and then I'm the rugby coach as well. So it's 3 jobs. At times it can be very difficult to balance, but it's really, really fun and very exciting.
And you're also working on your master's?
Yes, sir. Also working on my my MBA, Master's in Business Administration. So
And your wife is?
Devin Cummings. She's an assistant volleyball coach here. And I met her in college at Dallas Baptist. So we went to school together, and we met there, and she was so great that I just couldn't let her go. So,
What did you get your degree in at DBU?
I got my degree in kinesiology with a minor in psychology. With plans to coach. So I started to do that, and then when I got here, I decided to pursue business just to get more of a business background with that.
So now that you're here, men's and women's rugby has been started.
Right.
Tell us how you are involved with the rugby team.
Okay, so say last January, Dr. Blackburn came to me. He knew I'd previously played rugby before and asked me to get a rugby program started. So immediately after that, I called my coach that I played for and asked him what are the steps to do so, because when you're a player, you don't really think about the administration behind it, right? So I called him and figured out what I needed to do in order to get the program launched, and so I started to do so. What I've learned over the past, I guess, almost year about just any sport and getting it started, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes as far as scheduling, getting approved from the conference and things like that. So coordinating with the conference is probably the biggest thing that I have to do on a day-to-day basis on top of planning practices. So,
and being an RD and getting your master's
right.
and being a husband.
Right. Yeah, that's the first.
I'm right there with you.
Yes,
I understand.
Yes.
So first, let's talk a little bit about the women's team. Where do they stand right now?
They actually they finished 5th in the conference. There's not as many women's teams, but they did finish 5th. And the women's teams that are in that conference are very, very good. What usually happens is you'll have a women's team, and if they're really good, it's probably because there's a professional team around that area that kind of just takes care of them and kind of brings them in and teaches them the ropes. And so that's what happened with our conference. UTSA, they're a national contender every year. I mean, they're very good. And there's a women's team down there in San Antonio that just kind of takes them on and shows them the ropes. And so that was our first game that we had to play. It was against them, and it was
quite a wake-up call.
I was like, this is what you do. This
is how we want to be, right?
Yes, exactly. Perfect vision. But anyways, with all that being said, we finished 5th in conference. We played UT Dallas, which is a great team, Angelo State, which is a great team, and UTSA. Those are the main schools that we played, and we also played Texas State and SFA. And so that's what the fall season consists of. We finished pretty well there. Those girls played awesome to bring home some wins.
And what was the final fall record?
It was 2-3-2. So we won 2, lost 3, and tied 2.
Not bad for the first half of the season.
Absolutely.
Now, will you guys play some games in the spring?
Right. We will play sevens, which is we had played 15s in the fall or 12s. Girls do a lot of 12s or 10s.
And that's meaning the people on the field.
Right. So it was 10 on 10 or 12 versus 12. And so we'll play sevens in the spring, which are tournament style. So I got an email yesterday setting up tournaments. We have 5 set up for the spring, and it's just you get there and you play round robin. So you'll play maybe 5 or 6 games each day, each Saturday for the spring. And so we're excited about that because our team has quite a bit of speed. So hopefully it'll play to our advantage.
Now, looking at the men, you guys are 5-1 overall.
Right.
Won 5 straight, and then you lost to the University of Dallas 5-1, I think, to end the fall season. And tell us a little bit about the men's team and their makeup.
So the men's team, we had a couple recruits coming in, and it's a lot easier to translate for rugby. Previous athletes, as far as football players, wrestlers, make a good translation of rugby. So that's kind of what the mindset I had going into, just because we didn't have much time to recruit for the fall semester. And so we got a lot of former athletes, got them on the field, and we realized that we were very athletic. Now, we weren't rugby players, but we were very athletic. And we had some rugby recruits come in who are rugby players, which helped kind of blend them all together. And it was really good for practice. Just as they could watch rugby players actually play the game. But our team is very, very fast, and we're still learning the rules of rugby, though, if that makes any sense. So throughout a game, there's so many rules. The referee will say something, and it's like, yeah, it's a coachable moment, trying to tell them this is actually how it goes, and then, okay, let's go then. Let's get going. And so, but the first tournament we had, we played 3 games in Austin, and that's where I was like, it was the first time I sat there, and I was like, wow, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a great season, just because they just played really well. I mean, the speed that we have is very crucial, and so it's exciting to watch.
I know I was talking, is either you or Tim Weatherly about Bryce Hale. It came on, and he's a former football player. He was all conference, big dude, linebacker, defensive lineman. Comes out and is just a specimen for rugby, and some of those teams look at him, and he gets to hit with no pads on.
Exactly.
And so they try and stay away from him after that first hit. Is that kind of what happened?
Yes. So it's so funny trying to get him to play. So he was thinking about playing, and I was like, man, you need to play. Just come out to one game. And I was like, matter of fact, you're just so big, you don't even need to, you could just stand on the sideline. Let's just have you on
the
our
intimidation
side.
factor.
Right. And so he comes out there, and I tried to find a position that translated really well with what he did as a football player. So he played, outside linebacker, defensive end. And so the position he has is, if you know anything about rugby, it's a scrum. He comes out of the scrum, and his first job is just to hit the person right there. And so I said, if you just hit him one good time, it's going to stop their whole offensive flow. So just one time, just give him one
It's like
hit.
breaking up a run.
Right. And so he looks at me before he did it. He looked at me like, this is when I go? And I said, yes, this is when you go. And so we were playing Laterno. Comes around the corner, hits the guy, takes the guy out for the rest of the game, which he was a really good player. That was their one really good players. And everyone else just ran away from him. It was kind of like, I don't really know how to explain it. They just ran away from him wherever he ran on the field. It almost looked like they were playing tag.
Run away from that guy.
Yeah. And so he's an animal. I got my first year here. He was on the football team, and being able to see him play football, I knew as soon as we got the rugby program that he would be a good fit.
Well, he must have hit him pretty good. You beat him 45-7 there on September 23rd, and they've had a rugby club, I think, for a few years now.
Right. Yes, they started at a rugby club after a mission trip. Which is a cool story. They started their rugby program, and then they've been in the conference for about 2 or 3 years. So they have a really established program. Their coach is really cool. And so we scheduled that game because we're really close, and we become good friends with them, and we're starting to actually do things with them together. Both our rugby teams together actually I've become pretty good friends with their coach.
Talking of rugby, Drew Dawson just chimed in on Facebook Live, and he's a former football player, helped me his senior year. I know he's always loving rugby, so we got to give a shout-out to Drew. Hello, Drew. I think he's out in North Carolina, so here's our rugby guy. If you need to come back and have a master's, come back and get out. When you get out of the military, come back to ETBU.
Oh, yeah. He's probably played before. There's a lot of good rugby.
I know he really likes it. So the men are doing fairly well, 5-1. How many games will they play in the spring?
So this is our intermission because all the teams in the conference are on different schedules just academically. And so we'll come back the 28th of January will be our first game back, and we'll play 3 more to finish out the season. And so we play Texas A&M San Antonio, SMU, and we'll also play what team is it? I think it's Abilene Christian. I think that's the 3rd game that we'll play when we come back. And it's very important that we win out just because the way the playoff structure is, there's 18 teams in our conference, and there's 2 different tiers. And so since we're a new program, we have to go to Tier 2. But we can cross-play the tiers. But as far as the rankings within that conference, they take the top 4 from Tier 1, top 2 from Tier 2, and the top 2 from the best record. And so that loss against University of Dallas, they're undefeated in conference, and so we took that 1 loss. And so SMU has 1 loss as well, so we have to beat SMU, and we have to win out in order
to make the tournament.
To make the tournament. So
cool.
We're looking forward to do that though, because we're turning heads everywhere with our program. It's really exciting.
That's what we like to do at ETBU.
It's exciting. it's awesome to see.
So what, like, I know there's a lot of different strategies for rugby. What is like a basic strategy for rugby? Because probably have people that I don't understand rugby at all. What is like a basic strategy for rugby?
The basic strategy really is just get the ball out wide. So you're in a line, you're staggered if you're on offense, and you want to catch the ball running full stride. So your ideal rugby player or rugby team will just get the ball outside and keep passing the ball. So you just want to make the extra pass, which is different than football, because in football you want to run as many yards and get as many yards as you can. When rugby, it's more making sure you have that support with you while you're running. And
it's good to have speed there on the outside then,
and so
it's like a breakaway. And
exactly. And so that's where, our team really it's an advantage for us just because we can get the ball out wide quick. And when we get the ball out wide quick.
Yeah, I know Roy Butler, played 4 years for a football team.
Yes, he did.
Came out, I think, in the fall and played for you. And I'm sure he had some speed out there.
He turned a lot of heads. My first year as a director of intramurals, I saw him on that intramural field, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, it was like a video game almost. He was running. I'm like, this isn't real. And so I said, man, you got to come play rugby. I know you're still in shape. And he's like, I'll do it. And so I let him know actually before the summer. So he was working out over the summer. So he came back in really good shape. And the first tournament he played, or the first game he played, was against Laterno, and I think it was the opening kickoff. He ran it back, and so
wow,
his wheels are deadly for sure. That's for
and
sure.
I think he's graduating, so you're going to lose him in the spring, but
right.
At least he helped you get the program up and going.
Yes,
so why do you love rugby so much?
It's a funny story. In high school, I got asked to play rugby, and I was like, no, thank you, no, thank you. Well, one of my teachers is one of the coaches for a local club, and he said he would give me extra credit on a test if I came to one practice. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll do it. And so I got two of my best friends to do it with me, and went to the practice, and that next night they had a game, and they were like, just come to the game, come watch the game. And so we went to the game, and I fell in love with it. I was so confused at the same time because I know none of the rules. But I just fell in love with the game and starting to play, especially when you play with your best friends. It's a great thing. And so just learning about the team and seeing how there's 15 guys on each side of the field, you have to do well with putting in a team effort. You have to really rely on your teammates. And so that's when I started to love the game. And it's just a foreign concept, and it's growing so much in America now that the Olympics have come in back into the
this last Olympics they had rugby.
Right. And so it's growing quite a bit. That and lacrosse, I would say, are the two sports that are growing rapidly in America. But just seeing how it's growing has been really cool, and being a part of that, being a part to share the game. That's what I really love, is just sharing the game. A lot of people, a lot of recruits maybe have played for a year or two, because high school programs are starting to pick it up now. Actual schools are starting to pick up programs, and so it's spreading. And so being a part of that is really, really cool.
One last question coming into the Christmas season. Do you have any big Christmas plans?
Christmas plans. So I've been married going on 2 years. Last year we had Christmas here, and then we did New Year's with my in-laws. But this year, we're going to do Christmas with the in-laws and then New Year's with my parents. And so I'm excited about that. Traveling, one's in San Antonio, one's in Dallas. So
nice.
Like Ryan said, we're going to be traveling around Texas to see family.
Yeah, so are we. We'll be leaving like the 18th or 19th, going up to Illinois for 4 or 5 days, and then over to Ohio for 4 or 5 days, and then we'll come back down here and be back down here on the 30th or so.
So you're gonna have a white Christmas?
Maybe. Just depends on. It's hit and miss every year.
Yeah.
There's one thing: it'll be cold.
Yes, that's right.
That's for sure. So, and I'm okay with that because it's just for a few days. I moved down here to get away from the cold.
Really?
When you grow up in the cold and you go in the negative temperatures and push the snow out and start the car and scrape the ice for years upon years, at least 20 years of that, you get tired of the snow.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of chores as a child. I would want to do
that. When you're little, it's fun because you get to go out and play. But as you get older, you're like, ugh, do I have to get out of this warm bed to go to 15 degrees, wind chill 0, and go out and shovel the sidewalk and start my car? So if you want, we can.
No, I'm perfectly fine.
It's not all bad. It's fun to see that first snow and be a part of it. But when it goes on for 3 months, it's like it's like summer down here.
Yeah,
summer, the heat for 3-4 months is the winter up there.
Yeah.
So after a while, some people get tired of the heat down here
Right.
and want to move away, and well, you get tired of the winters up north.
Yeah,
so
I could see that.
But yeah, so well, Devin, thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
and good luck the rest in the springtime. We'll have you back later on in the spring, and
All right.
have a Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir. You too.